The St. John River is known in the native language as Wolastoq, which, if I'm remembering correctly, translates to beautiful river. At 7 days, this is going to not only be the longest canoe trip that I've ever been on, it's actually also going to be the longest period of time that I've ever been completely disconnected from civilization. The St. John River is the longest free-flowing and wild river east of the Mississippi, and over the next 7 days we're going to be traveling by canoe 100 miles from Baker Lake all the way north to Dickey Bridge near the town of Allagash, Maine. One unique characteristic of the St. John River is that the whitewater challenges increase in difficulty as you go down the river. Woo! So it starts off relatively easy. Woo-hoo. And then the really big rapids, the largest of which are 2 Class 3 rapids. Okay. They come after a long string of easier, like Class 2 type stuff in the middle of the trip. Woo! Forward. So when we do reach those Class 3 rapids, I think that we'll be well prepared for them.
There's a little book of poetry by a Cree elder that Polly and I are very good friends with. As far as we know, she was the first indigenous Cree woman to actually ever be published. Margaret William Cromartie. She was forcibly taken away from her family. I think she was 11 or 12 years old and sent to a residential school. So Jean is going to be so kind. Jean, look up baby moss.
Sphagnum moss, baby moss. By my door she stood, an old bag in her hand. The bag she held was full of moss from the land. She asked me, "Do you need fresh moss for baby?" "Yes," I said, "it keeps the baby dry." She smiled. "If you want, I'll get more for you." Knowing her skill, I nod my head. She goes early to the wet swamps to find and pick moss for a little baby. She never wears gloves, her hands red from cold. She loves gathering the soft moss. She chooses a spot where the sun shines a lot. The wet, cold moss has to dry before she brings some to me. Over the years, I never used anything so soft and fine for a baby's behind as the moss she brought with a smile.
We'll probably stop at Flaws Bogan. There's a campsite there, but there's also a cabin there. That cabin is a place dear to my heart, because I spent the fall of '79, winter of '80 there, trapping all this country.
Okay. So. Delicious meal, delicious dessert.
Night, Hope.
Thank you. So we're now halfway through day 3. We're about to have lunch here at Ledge Rapids. At this stage in the trip, everything's kind of feeling more routine. There are fewer unknowns, like I know when to wake up, I know where the coffee is, I know how my partner paddles, I know how the boat reacts in rapids, so I'm feeling much more comfortable and I'm just enjoying it. So far so good here on this trip. Big old ice chunk over there. It's huge.
Hard to hear it.
Richard, so many waters you've paddled, gifting your friends with your gentle presence, appreciating the wonder and beauty of everything, wintergreen and trailing arbutus today. Kind, thoughtful, caring, appreciative. Romeo of men.
Whoa!
Whoa!
I didn't know that.
One of the guys wrote that.
Wilderness bound, positively paddling all abound. We trade our years for memories, which we cherish and carry with us as we go on through life. These memories become more valuable than any tangible asset. I trust that our memories outlast us. Always a pleasure to spend time with you on the water. You do one hell of a good job at keeping that canoe right side up in the rips for an old fart. Happy birthday, Richard. You guys are so sweet.
Friday, we get 71 with a 70% chance of rain, also a chance of thunderstorms. And Saturday, 66 with a 90% chance of rain. So, looks like our good fortune with the weather ends tonight, unfortunately. Morning, day 4. Started off the day on a good foot. Got to see the sun poke up right over the horizon. I left the doors open and I had views of the river on both sides, which was really nice. This is a good spot. So the location where I placed my tent is actually one end of the road that would have gone over 9 Mile Bridge, which is signified by this cable that now runs across the river. The bridge was swept away by ice flow quite some time ago and it was never rebuilt, but this is where it would have been located. And down here on the embankment, you can see the rocks and even some of the concrete that would have made up this part of the bridge. And on the far side of the river, that campsite is in the location where Helen Hamlin lived with her game warden husband many years ago. So, really interesting site here. There used to be a lot of activity in places like this, and Seven Island, where we're headed today, all kinds of logging back when they were sending logs up the river to be processed instead of driving them out by trucks like they do today. So, very cool area. Woohoo! Thank you. You spoke too soon, Richard.
She got some of that black Angus too. Marty's boys have holes in them. Bring them home, get the sales. Look, he's a donor. Oh yeah.
Absolutely magical day here on day 4 of the trip. Some rain clouds followed the hot afternoon sun, and at one point we actually heard thunder. But we've been very lucky to only catch a few showers here and there. The most recent rain shower that came through actually included a rainbow. Having a wonderful time here at Seven Island. Morning, day 5. I'm feeling great, and I'm feeling very thankful that there's still 3 days left to go on this trip. There's a small, or even not so small part of me that kind of wishes that there was even more. The water level is falling pretty rapidly because the weather's been so dry. I think I heard Kevin say that it drops by 400 to 500 cubic feet per second each day that it's dry like this. Water levels are getting very low at this point. came here twice actually. Once in the spring, the first time I ever came to the North Maine woods. And then we actually came back again in the fall, specifically to camp at this campsite. I've been looking forward to returning to this spot for this entire trip. I've had some wonderful times here. This is a fantastic campsite.
It's called The Country by Billy Collins. I wondered about you when you told me never to leave a box of wooden strike anywhere matches lying around the house because the mice might get into them and start a fire. But your face was absolutely straight when you twisted the lid down on the round tin where the matches, you said, are always stowed. Who could sleep that night? Who could whisk away the thought of the one unlikely mouse padding along a cold water pipe behind the floral wallpaper, gripping a single wooden match between the needles of his teeth? Who could not see him rounding a corner, the blue tip scratching against a rough-hewn beam, the sudden flare, and the creature, for one bright, shining moment, suddenly thrust ahead of his time, now a fire starter, now a torchbearer, in a forgotten ritual, little brown druid illuminating some ancient night. Who could fail to notice, lit up in the blazing insulation, the tiny looks of wonderment on the faces of his fellow mice, one-time inhabitants of what once was your house in the country?
So Big Black Rapids is pretty much just around the corner. I don't know exactly the mileage, somewhere between 1 and 3 miles. And that's the first of 2 Class 3 rapids on this river.
It begins where the river bends sharply to the left. You cannot see them as you approach. It is best to stop on the left shore and look them over before making the run. They are generally rated as a Class 2 and are definitely the most difficult encountered thus far. Higher water levels can easily up the rating to Class 3. Persons without whitewater experience should carefully consider the consequences of an upset, possibly with an injury or loss of equipment in this remote area.
Left draw. Paddle. Good. Paddle. Paddle hard. Hard. Float. Thank you.
Before the coming of the white man, the Indians used the Big Black and part of the St. John as their hunting area. Large amounts of corn were also raised in this area. According to legend, a great epidemic swept through the village, killing large numbers of the Indians. Many were buried on the point at Big Black. The old story has more or less been proven correct.
Further upstream in the Big Black watershed were some larger villages, and someone had been out to trade with the Europeans, and they brought back a European disease. And it pretty much wiped out the village. 80% of the village died within a week or 10 days. The Maliseet that died and were buried, the woods behind there are above the floodplains, for sure, at least above 100, 200 year floodplain. So I think they were buried up there somewhere.
I won't say the time passed quickly. I think what's more accurate to say is that I've just gotten used to this life, this routine, living on the river. And at this point I could just keep doing this, but all good things must come to an end.
It's a long, gradual bend to the left. We'll pull over before we start going down into big rapids. It's really kind of 3 sets with quick water and smaller rips in between. When we put in, I was guessing it would be in the 5,000 range. It's 9,000 and something CFS. Oh, so it means pushier water, but less pour-overs and rocks, basically. We will stop and look it over and make the plan for how we're going to run it. This will be the most technical rapid we've done so far, but I think it's well within everybody's abilities.
Didn't like the laugh at the end of there.
I didn't like laughing. About that, yeah.
This is really too long. It would take forever to get out and scout it like Big Black. And each set, like, you'll feel the gradient pick up. The second set starts getting steeper, and then the steepest gradient is at the very, very bottom. The biggest volume of water is right of center by the time you get to the bottom. But at 9,000, I don't think we really need to be all the way right of center. So if I pin on the rock sideways, Richard, don't follow me, okay?
Wow, look at that gradient.
Forward. I agree. Forward. You just hit a rock. I don't want to hit that. Forward. Woo! Oh. All right. Forward. Float. Oh. Man overboard. Back paddle, Richard. Back paddle.
I was trying to think if there was a part of the trip that I would describe as my favorite. And the conclusion that I came to was that there really isn't. I feel like each day had its own set of memorable circumstances.
Great job.
Richard, I'd share a canoe with you any day.
Oh, thank you very much.
What a great week.
And I don't think I can describe any day or moment as being my favorite. There's just too many to choose from. I would like to express my gratitude to the Mahoosuc guides who accompanied us on this trip. Barbara, Jean, and Kevin, you guys were absolutely amazing. We all learned so much from you in such a short period of time, and you made this trip everything that it was. So thank you all so much for everything that you did for us over the past 7 days. And I'd also like to say a very special thank you to Richard, who I shared a canoe with all week, and who at the bottom of every rapid would turn around and say, "Nicely done," even if it wasn't, and whose catchphrase, "No place I'd rather be," I think I will be adopting for myself as well. Thank you very much, Richard, and I really hope I get to paddle with you again soon.